Hi guys, it's Janice. Welcome back to my channel. This is my Top 5 Wednesday video. Top 5 Wednesday is a Goodreads group created by Ginger Laney Reads. Nope, that's wrong. Ginger Reads Laney. And it's just every week there's a new topic, a top 5 topic. You may notice that I look exactly the same as I looked in my Tuesday Talks video, and that's because I'm filming this one right after that. You can take that to mean I'm either really prepared or really lazy. The choice is yours, but it's really lazy. Like I said in my last video, I'm on my vacation, so I'm afraid that I might be too lazy tomorrow to bust out the camera again. So I figured while I have it out, I'll do this one really quickly. So the topic is 5 books you're thankful for. And I thought this was going to be harder for me to figure out, to come up with, because I took the topics and I put them on my, in a Google document, and I was trying to fill them out. Last week's I couldn't do just because I love Hunger Games, but I'm not able to pinpoint, Anyway, that's not relevant. But this was really easy to come up with 5 books off the top of my head that I'm really thankful for. Not just because I enjoy the books, but because of the situations surrounding the books in my life. So the first one that I want to talk about is The Chamber of Secrets by Harry Potter. When I was a kid, I was really poor, so I couldn't purchase books or anything like that, new or used. Books were a super luxury. My older sister was not great with library books, and because she had lost 2 or 3 library books as a kid, my mom would not let me or my brother take library books out just because we couldn't afford to pay for lost library books. So she'd already done that with my older sister, so she was not doing that again with us. So reading books was go to the library at school and sit there and read it, or borrow it from a friend if you had a friend, but it was really hard to come by as a kid. And that's not to say we didn't get to read a lot, but reading in off time, outside of school, was kind of harder to do. So my mom had a friend who was reading the Harry Potter books, and she let me read The Sorcerer's Stone, and I really loved it. And then my grandmother died, and we had to move from Texas to Maine for a little while. So she was going to let me borrow the Chamber of Secrets, but I couldn't because I was moving across the country, super far away, Texas to Maine, very far away. And she gave me this book, and it was such a important moment in my life to have somebody give me a book. And it was the second book, so I didn't have the first one, and I think the third had already been out at that point. I can't remember exactly what year it was. It was when I was 12, so I'll have to Google that. But it was such, and I'm feeling emotional just thinking about it. It was such an important moment in my life to have my first serious book that I owned. It was hardback and had the sleeve, and it was an amazing experience. And so that's the first book that I'm thankful for the book, but I'm thankful for the experience as well. The next one is House of Leaves by Mark Z. Danielewski. I didn't borrow this book. I heard about this book from my friend Brexton, and I read it, and I really loved it. This is an amazing book. If you haven't read it, you definitely need to. I feel emotions while reading the book, but I don't feel panicked or anything like that. I'll get scared and I'll get nervous, but House of Leaves is the first book where I literally couldn't breathe at one moment. I was oh my God, he's gonna die. I couldn't breathe. I was so into this book. So my boyfriend Carl, when we were first getting to know each other, one of the things that we had in common was a love of books. So we were talking about books that we read recently that we loved and making recommendations to each other. And I was I just read this book, House of Leaves by Mark Z. Danielewski. You need to read it. It's so good. And he's I love that book. I've never met anybody other than the person that recommended it to me that's read it. And it was just this major bonding moment for us, in the beginning, this love of this one semi-obscure at the time. I know it's less obscure now, but at the time, this was 8 years ago or something like that, or 7 years ago. And it was just not as common to know people that have read that book. And it's just it's people have, this is our song, but this is our book. So that one's important to me, and I'm really thankful to have that experience. The next one is Legends, which is a short story, a anthology. And this one's important to me because there's the book Little Sisters of Illyria in it, and I remember reading it. My mom had this book, the anthology, and she had the book, and I was reading the Little Sisters of Illyria, and I was so in love with this story. And I went up to my mom, and I was a kid. I was probably 10. No, I was probably 12 at the time. And I went up to my mom, and I was I just read this book, the story in here, and I loved it. It was so much fun. I can't remember exactly like how I felt about it, but I was like, I'm just really sad that it's over. I wish that there was more. And my mom was like, there is more. And that's not how I got into Stephen King, but it's how I got into my own interest in Stephen King. As a kid, I read a lot of Stephen King, but it was what my mom had. And she did have, you know, the Dark Tower series, but it wasn't one I had stumbled upon like in her collection on my own. And so when she told me that, it was my first time just like finding a series and just finding a book that an adult book that I personally was like interested in reading. Not that was one my mom had just read or anything like that. And it was a really fun experience. And then I remember, I don't know exactly how old I was, because I remember when I was 18 working at Kroger and The Wolves of the Kala had come out, and I purchased that for her. So I don't know when the series started, but it's crazy to think that I was 18 by the time the 5th book came out. But it was just an exciting experience, and I really love that series. I actually haven't finished it because I got The Wolves of the Kala for her, and I have Song of Susanna and, you know, the final book up there, but the Song of Susanna book I cannot get into, and now it's been so long, and I want to read. I just reread The Gunslinger at the beginning of this year, so I want to reread all of the books again so I can finish it. My mom's not an emotional person. She said that the last book that she cried, and that's like, my mom doesn't cry, so I need to read it. The next one is American Gods. I have a very similar story to American Gods that I have to the Gunslinger series. Oh my gosh. Anyway, so I can't remember the magazine, but I was reading a magazine and it had an excerpt from the beginning of American Gods. And if you've read American Gods, you know how the wife dies. And so I was reading that, and I don't know why, but it like really, really, really like pulled me in, and I was like, I need to read this book. But I didn't have money to buy the book, and it was not in my school library. As you can probably imagine, I was still in high school at this time, and my friend Judith just happened to have Neverwhere at her house. So reading this American Gods excerpt made me really want to read American Gods, but I couldn't get my hands on it. So then when I was able to get my hands on Neverwhere, like I was just like, whatever, this is Neil Gaiman, the same guy that wrote that book, I'm going to read it. And I loved Neverwhere, and I finally read American Gods, and I've read so much Neil Gaiman up to this point, but it was just that little excerpt like when just like a chunk of a book can introduce you to my favorite author, like can introduce you to your favorite author. It was an amazing experience. I don't have any of these books. I have like Neverwhere up there, but I don't have American Gods. None of these books I have with me right now. And the final one was The Giver. I read this in the 6th grade, and I think the reason why I'm so thankful for this book is because it opened me up to the possibility that books that are assigned to you in school can be good. I know that I had always heard, you know, people complain about like books that were assigned during school and like not liking them and stuff like that, and from TV and my older sister and stuff like that. So I guess I had expected school books, like books to be assigned during school, to be bad. But when I read The Giver, I was so in love with that book. I finished it in no time, and I think I'm really thankful for the fact that that was the first book I read in school was such a good book, because it did leave me open-minded to all the books I got in the future during school. Some of my favorite books were school assigned books. The Life of Pi by Yann Martel, Alas Babylon by Pat Frank. Like, these books are stories that I love and that I like cherish, and like I recommend to people all the time. And like, and I'm not saying, who knows how I would have felt at the time when I finally came upon these books throughout the years of school. But I'm really thankful for The Giver being so good and just leaving me open-minded to the possibility of school assigned books being amazing. So let me know what books you're thankful for. If you've made this video, I'm probably going to go and like search, because I think this is a really interesting topic. So I'm excited to see, you know, what everybody else has to say and the reasonings behind their books that they're thankful for. So I'm really excited about checking that out. But leave me a comment if you have any, you know, comments on the books that I've mentioned or similar stories and experiences. Like this video if you liked it. Subscribe if you want to see more. You can find me on Twitter, Tumblr, and Instagram at JJJJanis. That's Janice with 4 J's. And I'll have, in the description. I'll have that in the description. Thank you so much for watching. Happy Thanksgiving. I hope you have a great Thanksgiving tomorrow if you're in the United States. And a great, Thursday if you're not. So, but thank you for watching and have a great day.